This week's Parsha VaYishlach sees Yaakov return to the land after having been absent for 20 years. Yaakov's first action upon his return is to send his brother Esav a rather cryptic message. Im Lavan garti, vaychar ad ata. I lived with Lavan and I was delayed until now. What is Yaakov trying to tell Esav with this message? The commentators try to understand this phrase by both its homiletic and simple meanings. Rashi, for instance, understands Im Lavan garti homiletically. Rashi says to look at the word garti and rearrange the letters to spell taryag. Taryag in Gematria is the number 613 and is used to represent all the mitzvot of the Torah. Rashi is thereby saying that Yaakov is telling Esav, even though I was at Lavan's house for 20 years, I still fulfilled all 613 mitzvot of the Torah. Whether Yaakov fulfilled the whole Torah or not is beside the point. The message that Yaakov is trying to convey is, while Esav might have had accrued merits for remaining in the land and for fulfilling the mitzvah of honoring one's father or mother, he too had accrued merits by fulfilling his duties towards God, despite being a foreigner in a foreign land and a stranger among non-believers in God. Yaakov had also accrued merits over the last 20 years and was on an equal or even superior footing to Esav. And by the way, if you might ask, how is it that Yaakov fulfilled the mitzvah of honoring his father or mother over the last 20 years? Rashbam points out throughout this whole time he was fulfilling their parents' wish for him to go to Padan Aram to get married and to start a family. Understanding our phrase in Rashi's way, we can say that Yaakov was trying to strike a defiant pose in a confrontation with Esav. While on the outside his presentation might have been obsequious or even nonchalant, Yaakov showed true courage by being willing to confront Esav face to face, despite the dangers it might present. We can also look at Yaakov's message through its simple understanding as well. Im Lavan garti, vaychar ad ata. Abarbanel points out Yaakov was absent from the land and his father's house for 20 years. That's a huge amount of time. One could have been forgiven for thinking that perhaps Yaakov was even trying to disappear. When Yaakov returned, he wanted to reassure Esav that it wasn't for a lack of trying that he was away for so long. There had been many factors that caused his delay to return. One factor is that Yaakov was literally looked upon as a ger in Lavan's house. He was treated as a stranger and not as a brother or a close relative. And most people do not look favorably upon a stranger in their midst. Of course, the major factor to the delay was Lavan. As Rav Hirsch points out, everyone knew who Lavan was. He was the master manipulator who always appeared to be righteous in whatever he did. As such, it just took Yaakov a long time to navigate through the minefield called Lavan to get to the point where he was ready to come back. As Bechor Shor explains, among the reasons why Yaakov left in the first place, besides for honoring his parents and fleeing from Esav, was also to find himself and learn to prosper on his own. Because of Lavan's schemes and manipulations, it took Yaakov 20 years to make that fortune and be ready to return. Irrespective of whichever way we understand Yaakov's message, the experience of having encountered and lived with Lavan for 20 years prepared him to be able to confront Esav now as an equal. Yaakov knew that, and he wanted to make sure that Esav knew that too. Not that Yaakov wanted to fight Esav, but in order to hopefully prevent any unnecessary unpleasantries, the best defense is a good offense. And that was Yaakov's underlying message to Esav by telling him that he was by Lavan for these last 20 years. Shabbat Shalom.